Welcome back. Welcome back. It is me, BrittReacts, and today we're going to react to more of Jordan Peterson because I really enjoy listening to him speak. This is a clip from his own podcast. He's talking to a gentleman named Terry Glavin, and the thing about Trudeau, I hope I'm saying that right, who I am to understand is the Canadian Prime Minister or was the Canadian Prime Minister. Let's see what they have to say.
We've seen the rise of this progressive insistence that projects like Canada and the United States, et cetera, and Israel are part of this colonial, capitalist, oppressive enterprise. Now, that's permeated Canadian society to some degree, but it's also permeated the UN. And Canada has been historically aligned with the UN, and our foreign policy has been determined by that alliance for a very long time. Well, influenced and if not determined, influenced. And that was a matter of pride in Canada when the UN was quasi-functional organization, let's say. But so you see the emergence of that post-Soviet Union Marxist-inspired colonial rhetoric in the UN and in Canada, and the fact that Canada's been allied with the UN has also shaped our foreign policy in a rather unthinking manner, especially under Trudeau, who has no, what would you say, has what? No knowledge, no imagination for like, how do you explain?
Okay, here's Trudeau. Here's the thing about Trudeau. There's really not much there. I hate to be uncharitable.
I think it's time to be uncharitable.
Okay.
Whoa. Bomb dropped. Here's the truth. There's nothing there. No one's home. The lights aren't on. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about are the blue shoes. Have y'all been here before? Do you know who I am? Do you know I'm always going to talk about the fashions there or lack thereof? The blue shoes are amazing. And then you have this really artistic blazer. I've never seen anything like it. I can't decide if I hate it or I love it. I do love the yarn detail on the arm, but this like one red sleeve, I don't know, it's throwing me off a little bit. But I brought that up because the more I dive into watching Jordan Peterson, the more I feel like his personality is shining through for me. I watched him like laugh and joke with Theo Von in another reaction. Go watch it if you haven't. And now I think I'm starting to see like, okay, he's got a fashion sense, and maybe he's a more stoic person in these interviews, but maybe he's one of these people who speaks through the way he dresses. And I think that's cool. You guys know me. I don't know. No, let me not say I don't know. That's not the truth. I would never pretend like I am just so well versed on a place like Canada and their foreign policies or their relations with other nations. I did not know that they had an allyship with the UN, and therefore a lot of their I don't know, operations are due to that, linked to the UN. I don't know. That's what it feels like is going on here. I am just starting to learn the buzz around Trudeau. I think they said Trudeau. And apparently, please, I can't wait to read your comments. Donald Trump has something to do with this man resigning. Did he resign? Is he resigning? Is there like a due date? I don't know. But it doesn't seem like they sat down with the intention to talk about this man. It seems he came up. This is a clip from the podcast. It's like literally inside of the conversation. So I don't think this was meant to be a bashing session, but it does seem that they are about to maybe vent a little bit about their home, where they live and how it's being run. So I'm excited to learn more and be educated, which is really why I wanted to watch this, because I felt this was maybe a good place to start.
I hate to be uncharitable.
Uncharitable is such a nice way of saying shady.
Okay. Well, there really isn't much there. He's. I think you've been very interested in the phenomenon of narcissism. There you go.
Well, they're saying he's a narcissist.
Is a vanity mirror. And you have to remember, when he came along, it sort of parallels the rise of Trump in the United States, right? When he was first elected. Just a few months from the election of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump said all these scary things about Muslims. And then Justin Trudeau, tweets, well, everybody's welcome to Canada. It doesn't matter. You can be a Muslim. We love you. The next thing you know, he's on the front page of the Rolling Stone magazine. He's the toast of, Vogue photo shoots. He's the leader of the free world. And
he was the poster boy for he is the poster boy for the progressive movement internationally, I would say.
Yeah.
And he is and the narcissism element, you talked about him to some degree as an empty drum, let's say, and I have made reference to him as a narcissist. I mean,
I'm using all of these terms.
My observation in that regard was driven by the manner in which he adopted the leadership of the Liberal Party, because I felt I'd like your opinion about this. When he emerged, I thought I kind of had two opinions, right? People went to him and made the case that he would be a credible and popular leader of the Liberals, not least because of his name brand recognition. And I can imagine being in that position, let's say, and thinking, okay, this is a risky enterprise because I don't have the CV that would indicate that I'm capable of running a G7 country. But if I don't run, then the Conservatives, who were my father's foes, let's say, and aren't aligned with me politically, have a really good crack at victory. And if I put my name forward, maybe we can forestall that. And then maybe I could put my nose to the grindstone and I could learn. I could surround myself with
Okay. I just want to recap because I am learning and there are things being flung around. So is there some nepotism? His father was also in politics. He is of liberal background. His father was foes, I think is what Jordan said, with the Conservative Party in Canada, or maybe internationally, I don't know. And Justin didn't have the CV, which is a resume, necessarily to run for prime minister. But in his case, Jordan says maybe he felt like, well, it's better I run than to just give the Conservatives a sweep. And then when I get in office, I can fake it till I make it. Did I dumb that down for anybody else who needed it to be dumbed down? Did I do it well? I'm just trying to keep up. This is interesting. I mean, I think as an American, and especially as an American who has kind of become an adult and when I say an adult, right, I became an adult legally at the age of 18, but became an adult meaning understanding finance and politics to some degree, and just I'm a real adult now, right? In my 20s, I was very much a fake adult. I was out here just surviving off ramen noodles. But I think, you always thought like Canada was this mythical, magical place. Like there's no issues. There's peace on earth. They have free healthcare, kumbaya. And to hear this conversation that is kind of putting a spotlight on their government and their issues, I think just to me proves that like the grass is not greener anywhere. You know what I mean? And these whole like, well, if you don't like it here, you can leave things. It's like, ain't nowhere perfect. There's nowhere perfect, guys. There's literally nowhere to go. And there's going to be, well, is there somewhere you can go and it's kumbaya, hakuna matata, peace on earth? There's nothing, no poverty, no crime, no corruption. You know what I mean? Like, tell me, let me know in the comments.
High-level experts, and I could learn to play the part if I was open to that kind of learning. Okay, that's an unlikely scenario, that one, but he did, in fact, adopt it. But he didn't do any of that, right? He didn't.
Well, I think a lot of people, he's not my cup of tea, but a lot of people were really swept. He's
so
like this
good
matinee idol. A lot of people got caught up in that.
Yes, well, he's charming
things.
and he's elegant and he's good looking and he knows how to behave in public and he's got an easy smile and women find him essentially irresistible and
very photogenic, very charming, as you say.
Very well, and he's been in that milieu his whole life and has been groomed for that.
I'm Googling
but as far as the intellectual milieu, if there was such a thing, around his emergence, well, I mean, everybody was willing to give him a chance. I was willing to give him a chance. I remember speaking to him back when he was running for office, running for the, in the election, that period, and I was definitely willing to give him a shot.
Why?
Well, we spoke a lot about Syria.
Yeah.
And I have many friends and comrades who are associated with the Syrian revolutionary movement. And what the NATO countries, what was being asked of the NATO countries at the time was a no-fly zone over Syria. All we need is one NATO country to say, yes, we need to do this, because the Americans couldn't really understand what was going on. And everyone hoped that it might be Trudeau who said, yeah, I'm in. And he did give me, and of course there was the whole Syrian refugee issue, and he did try to, he made a lot of political capital out of that. We can come to that in a moment. But to understand who he represents and what he's all about, you have to wind the clock back further. You remember when Michael Ignatieff was briefly the leader of the Liberal Party?
Tell that story for the
Well, he's a very smart guy. Michael Ignatieff was classic.
He was a Harvard professor
Yeah.
at the time when they invited him back to Canada. He'd been down in Massachusetts for like 20 years, something like that.
Yeah, and a lot of people said, well, you're not really a Canadian, you're just visiting.
He had been out for quite a while.
So anyway, I mean,
he was an intellectual heavyweight.
Yeah, he was actually. I like Michael Ignatieff. I mean, just as an intellectual.
Well, he's certainly much more credible as a leader of a G7 country than Justin Trudeau, at least on the basis
what we've
of
got
his...
basically, it's so difficult to explain this to people from away. If you can imagine a kind of, I don't know,
Okay, I just Googled G7 country. I've heard the term, but I've never really taken the time to educate myself. The Group of Seven is an intergovernmental political and economic forum consisting of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Okay, got it. All right. I'm having fun learning. I'm learning a lot. I love this conversation. It's so well done. This gentleman here, Terry Glavin, I have no idea who he is or what he does, but he is so, he just kind of can communicate his unpleasantries or his dislike for people in such a kind way. And we could all stand to take some notes. I'm talking to you in the comments who like to write things that are just unnecessarily mean. Like, to me, to others, it's like you can state your unpleasant opinion in a non-unpleasant way. Anywho. What'd I do?
It's so difficult to explain this to people from away. If you can imagine a kind of, I don't know, a TikTok account run by a 19-year-old college girl in charge of a G7 country. That's basically
14-year-old.
What? But anyway, okay, so he merges. How does he present himself to the Liberal Party as a worthwhile leader of the party? And for this, he turned to McKinsey & Associates.
Consulting firm, major
massive
consulting
global
firm.
Consulting firm. The apologists
Sounds
for
like
dictators
scandal.
everywhere. I don't know how many billions of dollars they've had to pay out in lawsuits for boosting OxyContin sales in the United States. A fellow by the name of Dominic Barton, who happened to be a Canadian who spent half his life in China as the head of McKinsey. Trudeau brought him in. And essentially, to add gravitas to his candidacy for the Liberal Party,
Under whose advisement did he bring in McKinsey? Do you know? Like, was that his idea? Or I don't imagine.
Well, it's
part
a
of
small.
the cabal
It
around
is a small town. It is a small town.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Ottawa.
It was. He was essentially a function of the Canada-China Business Council. This is a really important thing for people to understand.
Wow.
His entire campaign was built around the proposition, and this is how he sort of lent gravitas to himself, that the key to the future is China. Canada's future is China. The middle-class prosperity is all about China, China, China. And this immediately, he immediately accrued to himself a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of help the Desmarais Corporation, the Power Corporation in Montreal, those whole circles. And of course, his father. People don't like to talk about this when they talk about Pierre Trudeau, but he was probably the most important propaganda asset for the Chinese Communist.
Pierre Trudeau, who is Justin's father. Okay, got it. I just am learning. I feel like I'm like back in school, but I'm actually interested now. This is wild to be just, I mean, I don't know, I guess just hearing it. Another thing I've seen in a lot of my comments since I've started reacting to Jordan or content that has Jordan in it is a lot of people saying Jordan for prime minister. They want him to run for prime minister. And I'm interested to know what are your, like, those comments, what are the basis of them, that people saying that, or like what qualifies him. Obviously, I mean, I think he's brilliant, but I don't know what will qualify him as to be prime minister of Canada. It's interesting because I think he's charming. I think he's attractive. I think he's well dressed. And he said all those things of Justin. I don't think he's an empty shell. The other thing I guess I just wanted to say that I guess perhaps I'm learning is, I'm sure we learned about Canadian government in school, but again, I wasn't paying attention. I am now, though. And it seems that their two main parties are liberal and conservative, if I'm understanding, where in the States we have Democrat and Republican, which some can replace those words with and say liberal and conservative. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think I'm really just, I feel like I'm in class, and I've got my notepad out, and I'm learning. I think this is an easy conversation to follow for me, where sometimes I think I may shy away from reading an article or watching an interview because I just simply don't, I can't, my brain can't figure it out. But this, I love the background information that especially Mr. Glavin, I hope I'm saying his last name right, Glavin is giving. He's giving so much information that's allowing context to where if I would have watched this maybe on a different podcast or something, I wouldn't maybe understand. But I love that I'm getting just some background information. I think, again, for me, I always thought Canada was like perfect and no one had any qualms with the way it was run. But I also ignorantly didn't and still don't know a ton about Canada. My husband spent 5 years there playing basketball. He thinks Canada is, minus the very cold weather, he was in a very cold place, but other than the weather, he thinks Canada is fantastic. He's like, if I could move us all there, like if I get a coaching job there, we're going. You know, and so this is really probably one of my first times hearing of kind of the woes that maybe Canadians are dealing with or have been feeling under the leadership of Trudeau, who again is liberal and now, to my understanding, is in his belief thinks that them having a close relationship with China is the way to success for Canadians. Am I understanding this right? For right now, I'm like reading Canada for Dummies. Okay.
Trudeau, but he was probably the most important propaganda asset for the Chinese Communist Party during the Maoist period in the English-speaking world.
That's nothing. It was just the Chinese communists.
Yeah.
You know, what'd they kill? 100 million people?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, and Trudeau would trade in this. And you say, well, you know, they know me in China, you know, my family name. And a lot of that was sort of glossed over. People didn't notice what was going on.
Well, people were optimistic
because
about
he was so glamorous, right?
We were also optimistic, I think, in the West for a reasonable amount of time that if China integrated itself into the Western economy, that they would liberalize across time.
Some of us were.
It was a case you could put forward if you were aware with all due caution of the potential risks. Right, but
yeah, that's what I'm told.
Look,
maybe it's the company.
I'm trying to give the devil his due here.
I like this guy.
Well, all I can tell you is that, you know, two things happened in 2001. What happened?
I like him. He's not cynical, but he's a realist. He's like, I don't know, maybe it's the company I keep. I don't know, maybe you think that. Like, I enjoy the way he presents his opinion. It feels very respectful, but very kind of rooted and grounded in his beliefs, and he's not deterring from that. And I appreciate that. As someone who I think the more I dive into this type of content, I realize I am quite neutral, and some people find that really aggravating, but it's like, I don't agree wholly with anyone, and I don't disagree wholly with one. I shouldn't say anyone. I don't have a side that I feel 100% I identify with. Now that I feel I'm educating myself about just a lot of things that I never educated myself on. And so when someone can articulate that in a way that I can understand, but also in a way that feels very firm in who they are and their stance and their beliefs, I just have a lot of respect for it. And I also, like, I'm chuckling at him for just, he's like so, he's like just, what's the word? He's like icked. He has the icks with Justin, and it's just like, but he's not being like catty or petty or rude or disrespectful. He's just kind of like, yeah, and I enjoy that.
Atrocities in New York and Washington, the Al-Qaeda atrocities. And the moment that the West put a knife to its own throat, only 3 months later, by admitting China into the World Trade Organization. This is a massive event. And I think there were a lot of people of good faith who imagined that the more China modernized and became capitalist, they'd become more like us. People who understood China knew this was rubbish. It was not going to happen.
Okay, so now we've got three things operating here. We've got the rise of
China's
this kind of
really
neo-Marxism. We've got the UN influence, and now we have the China nexus. Right? This is all shaping what's happening in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anybody who's followed Canadian politics at all in the last 5 years will be aware of the scandals associated with the intimacies between the Trudeau Liberals and the United Front Work Department of the Chinese Communist Party and the Organization Department of the...
To say the intimacies, I feel, is a very... it's just it's a strategic word to really show you the workings of the relationship. Like, he just uses such good verbiage. Like, I understand what's happening, what's being said.
The intimacies between the Trudeau Liberals and the United Front Work Department of the Chinese Communist Party and the Organization Department of the Politburo of the Chinese Communist Party, the manipulation and monkey wrenching of elections in 2019 and 2021.
Yeah, we still don't know the full extent of that.
Yeah, the whole commission is yet to report.
Right, and there's background rumors about a number of Liberal MPs being unduly influenced on the financial side.
More than background rumors. One of the things that's difficult for people to grasp is that, a lot of people ask me, my goodness, the Chinese must have something on Justin Trudeau.
Wow.
Some compromise. He doesn't see anything wrong with it. He doesn't.
Yes, well, that was evident in
if you take all the crazy thing, well, I don't want to, some of the things that the Democrats are saying about Trump and Russia were not crazy. But if you take all the extreme accusations that the Democrats are making about Trump's associations with the Kremlin, in the 2015 election, multiply that by 10, and you have, in the real world, Justin Trudeau's collusions and complicity with the United Front Work Department of the Chinese Communist Party. In the open, by the way. And this is the thing. To understand Justin Trudeau, you have to understand he sees nothing wrong with this. When he got elected, immediately after he got elected.
This is so complex. Do you see something wrong with it? Let me know in the comments. As Canadians, do you see something wrong with it? As Americans, as wherever you live, do you see something wrong with this? I think I'm just in awe of how complex any government is, honestly. Like, I think you hear things and you're like, there's no way that's possible. But it's like, it's just so much bigger than us. And I think, unfortunately in the United States, so many people, it's probably a worldwide thing, but I live in the United States, so I can only speak for my experience. But so many people have such firm stances, and they understand very little about the functionality. And I think it is why there's so much brokenness is because people are just sounding off, and their source is TikTok. Their source is like one article. Their source is one news station. And it's just like,
when he got elected, immediately after he got elected, in the first election, he sat down with a reporter from the New York Times and said, this is what basically Canada is. He saw a post-nationalist state.
With no identity.
No core identity, no mainstream. And immediately the question should have turned to, I remember talking to Jerry Butts about this, his sort of principal advisor, because we used to be quite chummy. And,
Quite
John
chummy.
Ralston Saul.
Jerry doesn't take much of me.
He doesn't like me either.
Ah, okay.
John Ralston Saul, the philosopher, he wrote this concept of Canada as a postmodern state. And it was a kind of a nuanced, interesting philosophy, whatever. And I remember talking to Jerry, I said, Trudeau kind of got that wrong. I mean, wasn't he kind of channeling John Ralston Saul? He said, oh, no. He meant it, post-national. And so here's the question. How do you do national?
Where did he get that idea? Like Trudeau? Because first of all, it's an idea, so it's surprising he had it at all.
Well, if you hang around with the Canada-China business.
Whereas Jordan is just ripping this man like he's not. I find that he's not speaking as much as I've watched him speak. I think that speaks to maybe his respect for this man's intelligence and him really wanting to hear what he has to say. Not that he doesn't let other, but I think a lot of times he's the smartest person in the room, and this gentleman seems to be, if not an equal intellectual, maybe in this arena he's got more information to share. But Jordan is he couldn't hit a idea with a bat if you just put the idea, taped it on the bat. Jordan is over it. What is the tea here? Well, I mean, I'm getting all the tea, but wow. Okay. Canada, are you all right?
First of all, it's an idea, so it's surprising he had it at all.
Well, if you hang around with the Canada-China Business Council long enough, if you enthusiastically support, for instance, the largest overseas acquisition in the history of the People's Republic of China, the, CNOOC's acquisition of Nexon.
Flesh that out a little bit.
Well, yeah, it was at a time when, just before Justin Trudeau was elected, when the Chinese Communist Party was buying up all the major, really key strategic sort of spigot points in the oil patch in Alberta. And the Harper government, the cabinet, was terribly divided about this. And eventually the good guys won. The people I considered the good guys. When Harper said, okay, that's it. Sure, it's a lot of money. They're offering us twice the share value for every purchase they're making. But no, we do not want Canada's energy sector to be owned by the organization department of the Politburo.
Probably better than that than Stephen Guilbeault.
Anyway, where were we?
That is.
Okay, well, we're weaving a web here, and the thing I find
the post-national stuff. This is really key.
Yeah.
How do you do national security in a post-national state? What does it even mean? You see, I don't think they really thought this through.
That's a fair assumption.
What are Canada's national interests if we're a post-national country? And so
there's no national
essentially,
interest by definition.
There's this kind of, and as I say, I don't know that I want to describe it as an ideology. It's kind of like an ideational package. This notion that Canada is this racist, colonial settler state that has engaged in genocide after genocide against its indigenous peoples. And we're the liberals and we're the nice ones. And so that's essentially what Trudeau was all about. And I think, there's an adage that what starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They're the canaries in the coal mine.
They are, and that's very true. That's very true. And I don't want to dispute that. And I don't want what I'm about to say as a contradiction of that. My personal view is that if it did end with the Jews, it would still be evil.
Yeah.
So big deal, kind of a deal. A lot of people will put it this way, first they come for the Saturday people and then they'll come for the Sunday people.
Right. Yeah.
In Canada, it happened the other way around. It happened on the weekend of May 29th. May 29th, 2021, when Justin Trudeau lowered the flag on Parliament Hill. And on the Monday ordered the flag lowered on all federal buildings across the country, owing to a report out of Kamloops about the discovery of a mass grave.
Mm-hmm.
And on the Tuesday, the chief of the Kamloops First Nation said, well, actually, we didn't say mass grave. But the flag stayed down. The flags were at half-mast.
There is so much to unpack in this last minute and 30 seconds. What is going on? I mean, I just think the ground is being ripped from underneath me in the I'm sorry. Wow. I think I am. What did I just listen to? Canada, help me break this down.
The flags were at half-mast.
For how long? Like 6 months?
7 months, I think it was.
It was unbelievable.
And the people who, God bless them, who managed to get them back up again with the Mohawks. Thank God for the Mohawks.
Oh, I didn't know that twist on the story.
Yeah, they said, look, we have a lot of people who are veterans, and we lower our flags on the 11th of November, and also on Aboriginal Veterans Day. So how the hell are we going to lower the flags if they're already lowered? Do something about it.
So how do you, how do you understand the relationship between, okay, so now we have a lot of balls in the air. We have.
Yeah. Whoa, that was just 16 minutes. I don't even know what buttons to press. Wow, I love this photo. It's just so powerful. I don't know. Do I have a crush on Jordan Peterson? Mind your business. I'm married. That's all you need to know. That was a lot of information. I don't know. I just would love to read some of your comments. Yeah, let's leave it at that. All right, friends, go and have the day you deserve.